I absolutely 100% agree with the Sinclair method. I've been on TSM for at least 5 years now, and I am now a social drinker. I used to be a blackout drinker, no more. I mean, this says it all. This is the power of the Sinclair method treatment protocol to take someone from being a blackout drinker who doesn't have control to being a social, normal drinker. And you guys know I can testify to this. This was my story as well. And so many of us who struggle with excessive drinking and don't have control over our alcohol consumption, we assume that moderate drinking is impossible for us and that the only option is abstinence. I assume that. I think a lot of other people do as well. But a lot of people don't know that the Sinclair method treatment exists. And the reason it's able to cause someone to get their control back over alcohol and truly become a normal drinker without having to force it or use willpower or a bunch of planning around their drinking. Honestly, most of us, we get our control back over alcohol quite effortlessly over time with this treatment. It takes time and it's not totally effortless. We have to change our habits and create other coping skills as well. But naltrexone in the Sinclair method is because it works to address the issue of excessive drinking at the root level, which is actually neurologically in the brain. When somebody drinks alcohol repeatedly, and especially to excess, like me, I was in my early 20s and partying a lot, just thinking this was a phase I was going through in my life. But what I didn't realize is that I was priming my brain to develop an alcohol use disorder. And once I developed that dependence, it was too late and I didn't have control. I was a daily drinker. I was blacking out all of the time. And I was in this place where I was in a very toxic relationship and toxic cycle with alcohol that I just couldn't seem to get out of. But when I went on naltrexone and the Sinclair method, it gradually reversed that inside my brain, and my brain unlearned excessive drinking, because when we develop patterns of excessive drinking, it changes the brain and we no longer have control over alcohol, which is why a lot of people say once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. That was true historically, but with naltrexone and the Sinclair method, those changes that have caused someone to develop an alcohol addiction in the brain can be completely reversed. And when that happens, people can have control over alcohol and truly be a normal, moderate social drinker, or they can choose to go alcohol-free fairly effortlessly just because they don't really care about drinking anymore. I often like to tell people that it feels like my brain has been restored back to the place it was in before I developed an alcohol use disorder. So like my late teenage years before I started drinking. At that point in time, I didn't think about alcohol. I didn't care about drinking. I didn't obsess on it. I didn't feel like I needed a drink if I was stressed out that day. It just wasn't a part of my conscious mind or even my unconscious mind. It just wasn't a part of who I was. And that's what the Sinclair method did for me over time. I was a daily drinker, binge drinker for nearly 10 years before this treatment. And after just a year on this protocol, I gradually was reducing my drinking, gradually getting my control back to where I honestly became indifferent to alcohol. Like, sure, I might have a glass of wine with dinner, but I'm not upset if I don't have a glass of wine. And I was going days and days or even weeks and weeks without even thinking about drinking. It just became a non-issue in my life. And that's the power of this treatment. And it's just insane to me that more people don't know about it. The Sinclair method has been around since the 90s. Naltrexone is a generic medicine. It's cheap. It does require a prescription, but it's non-addictive. It's been approved for alcohol by the FDA since 1994. But most people still don't know about this treatment. Most people assume that once you have an alcohol addiction, you have to stop drinking and you can never touch alcohol again. And that's simply not true with the neuroscience treatments like the Sinclair method that exist today. So I'm very passionate about this treatment because it changed my life. And I've seen it do the same for I've lost count of how many other people over the years as well, including the individual who shared this testimony. So if you're stuck in a cycle of excessive drinking and you can't seem to control it and you don't know how to get out, and maybe you don't want to quit drinking, or maybe you've tried to quit drinking and you just can't because you're thinking about alcohol all of the time, look into the Sinclair method. All of my videos on here are about this treatment. The link in my profile will take you to our website where we've got free resources, information so you can understand more about this treatment. And we also have a private online program where we specialize in the Sinclair method and we can really guide you through through the protocol. So I hope this information is helpful. Thanks for watching.